Wife.
Okay, I got it out that time. I tried to call your name, and it came out
like
husband. Which, I mean, that kind of tracks because my...
Your voice has been kind of wonky lately.
Yeah, my throat is still...
recent sicknesses.
Yeah.
And for those of you who didn't join our special episode that we put out yesterday... Wife is back, and sorry for the absence.
Yeah, I had a running fever of between 99 and 102 point something degrees for about 4 days, and my throat was so painful that I was crying, and
it was bad. It was terrible.
Swelled clothes.
It was all the bad.
I had to go to the emergency room.
Yeah. It
was painful and horrible, and I'm back. And so, yay. And so that is why my voice went, husband. So, anyway, do you know what we're doing today?
Well, so it was last week at this point, but the last time we were doing a episode about the Bible, it was... oh shit! What book are we in? We're in Ezekiel. Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I knew what chapter, but I couldn't remember what book. We're in Ezekiel. We were reading Ezekiel Chapter 30.
Yes, that is correct.
And in that chapter, God...
do tell me what happened because I really don't remember.
Well, it was like the second part of a two-part thing where God was chastising Egypt for not doing things correctly, I guess. So anyway, that was, and then the prophecy it was going to be wrong because God was like, this is going to happen for like 40 years. You're going to be dispersed for like 40 years, and y'all are going to be torn apart and scattered and all the wonderful shit, right? But the thing is that in history, during the time that Nebuchadnezzar was fighting them, they never fully conquered them. And so therefore the prophecy in the Bible is wrong.
It's wrong.
So that's what happened. God was wrong last time.
God was mistaken.
That's what went on.
Or Ezekiel was mistaken and was a false prophet.
I mean, yeah, either way.
If we're going to pretend that God is real, he was mistaken. Knowing that God isn't real, that means that Ezekiel is a false prophet and a liar.
One way or the other, something in the Bible is not right.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying.
So that happened.
So that was Ezekiel chapter 30.
Yes, it was.
Which means that today we're getting into...
Ezekiel chapter 31.
All right, let's do this.
Okie dokie. All right, we are jumping into Ezekiel chapter 31.
All right.
And it starts out like this because you said it was a part 2 last week or last time.
So this is
a part 3.
Okay, well, I didn't know that yet.
We're still hollering at Egypt.
Got it. Okay. All right.
In the 11th year, in the 3rd month, on the 1st day, the word of the Lord came to me.
Okay.
Okay, and I got a date for you.
Came to Ezekiel.
Me, Ezekiel. Yeah, not me, wife.
Right.
I got a date for you.
Okay.
This corresponds to around June 19th to the 21st in 587 BCE.
Okay.
A month before Jerusalem was taken by the Chaldeans.
Got it. All right. Yep.
So this is what God says. Okay, ready?
I'm ready.
Son of man.
You mere human.
You fucking worm. Say to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and to his hordes, who can be compared with you in majesty? Because, you know, you're awesome, right?
Right.
Right? Love you, Egypt. You're so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Consider Assyria, once a cedar in Lebanon with beautiful branches overshadowing the forest. It towered on high, its top above the thick foliage. The waters nourished it. Deep springs made it grow tall. Their streams flowed all around its base and sent their channels to all the trees of the field. So it towered higher than all the trees of the field.
We're talking about Assyria right now, right?
Yes.
That's okay. Just making sure.
Yes.
I just wanted to verify.
Yeah. I actually have kind of a note about that. It's not a big deal, but this is less a geographical note because he's like saying, consider Assyria that was in Lebanon, right? It was a tree in Lebanon.
Sure.
The reference to Lebanon is actually a metaphor, not a locational statement.
Okay.
Because Assyria was a superpower which fell into the hands of the Babylonians, and their influence in the region, of course, now had waned.
Yeah.
And he's talking about this tree, this beautiful tall tree that eventually fell.
Which is Assyria.
And so he's saying you're going to follow
next.
this. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So that's what he's saying. You're so awesome. You're also a beautiful tree, just like Assyria. And guess what happened to them?
Yeah.
So that's what this is.
All right.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So he's talking about this great tree that towered high. Its boughs increased and its branches grew long, spreading because of abundant waters. All the birds of the sky nested in its boughs. All the animals of the wild gave birth under its branches. That is a lot of placenta under one fucking tree.
Yeah, it seems like that might be a little gross after a while with all that afterbirth and everything else to be just sitting around.
I'm going to say that didn't happen because that's kind of grody. All the great nations lived in its shade. Oh, the metaphorical tree. Okay.
All the great nations, huh?
Yeah, because...
So, wait, but this was Assyria, so, I mean, like, he's using Assyria as a metaphor as to what's going to happen to Egypt. So all the great nations lived in its shade. He's saying even, Jerusalem and Israel and all that lived in the shade of Assyria because they were, the greatest... I don't understand. Like,
he's talking about how great a nation, how large and powerful.
Okay, all right.
And that... they controlled the area.
Okay.
And so trade kind of happened because of them.
Got it. And then even they fell.
Yeah.
And you better watch out now, Egypt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because right now Egypt is the great power.
I feel like them giving this extra emphasis to how powerful Assyria was kind of diminishes the importance of Jerusalem and Israel in some regards.
Yes and no, because Assyria was a huge nation.
Sure.
Huge. Whereas, Jerusalem was the city, the capital city of Judah.
Right.
And Judah was a very small area, comparatively speaking.
No, you're absolutely right.
We're talking about an empire versus a small little kingdom.
Right. I guess I'm more speaking to the idea that God's influence did not make Jerusalem as powerful as some of these other people, right? Like, it's not a matter of whether or not they were or weren't, right?
Sure.
It's a matter of this God apparently doesn't have the power to make his own people
as
the most
big
powerful
as Assyria,
people, right?
Yeah.
That's where I'm like,
and that when they moved,
this is weird.
When they moved into the area, it was supposed to be their promised land, and they were supposed to wipe out all the people who lived there.
Yeah,
which some Assyrians did.
Right.
And so it's like, wow, you guys are like totally small compared to this huge empire, and you did not stand up well against her.
Right.
I see what you're saying.
Commenting on.
No, I see what you're saying. I'm looking at it more from the
matter of fact, this is the way things were.
The lyrical part of it too, though, the metaphorical part of it, not the how it actually was.
Right. No, I got it. I guess it was just the matter that this is God speaking about, this other nation as great. And that part to me is interesting insofar as they're not God's people. So that alone, admitting the greatness of this other nation or any other nation is a little bit odd.
It is interesting that he can recognize greatness in anybody but himself.
Yeah. No, I'm
for 2 seconds.
Right now in this
only
time
as it
and place.
suits him.
Right.
Only because it's convenient to do so.
Yeah.
Because he's like, they are so great and they died. Like, wow. Okay, thanks for that. All the great nations lived in its shade. It was majestic in beauty with its spreading boughs, for its roots went down to abundant waters. The cedars in the garden of God could not rival it, nor could the junipers equal its boughs, nor could the plane trees compare with its branches. No tree in the garden of God could match its beauty.
Wow.
The garden of God is another term for Garden of Eden.
Sure.
FYI.
But that's again.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is God admitting somebody is greater. I understand that it's a metaphor to say that this great thing is going to fall.
But that is very complimentary, even in a metaphor.
Yeah, but to admit that as you didn't have the best, you weren't the best. I don't. It's interesting to me.
It is.
This is interesting to me.
It is. I made it beautiful. Oh, I made it. Okay.
Okay.
I take it all back.
Fuck you, God.
He's not saying that they're God. I made it.
Right.
Don't forget, I made everything.
He made everything. Yeah, I forgot. I'm sorry. My bad.
I made it everything, but
he didn't give his garden or his people the most beautiful or powerful things.
Clearly.
You know?
Clearly. Because Assyria got it.
Yeah.
So how'd that work out?
Well, fuck you, Jerusalem.
Right?
You know?
I made it beautiful with abundant branches, the envy of all the trees of Eden in the garden of God.
I'm still kind of blown away at the wording
This was my favorite tree, and I didn't give it to you.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm sorry, I read that all wrong.
Did you? Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Because the great cedar towered over the thick foliage, and because it was proud of its height, I gave it into the hands of the rulers of the nations for him to deal with according to its wickedness. I cast it aside, and the most ruthless of foreign nations cut it down and left it. Its boughs fell on the mountains and in the valleys. Its branches lay broken in all the ravines of the land. All the nations of the earth came out from under its shade and left it. All the birds settled on the fallen tree, and all the wild animals lived among its branches. Okay. Therefore, no other trees by the waters are ever to tower proudly on high, lifting their tops above the thick foliage. No other trees so well watered are ever to reach such a height. They are all destined for death, for the earth below, among mortals who go down to the realm of the dead.
Okay.
Dead.
Yeah.
Dead. This is what the sovereign Lord says.
Okay. I thought we was already saying stuff.
He says, I said, he said.
Right, yeah.
Remember we talked about this. He's the OG Foghorn Leghorn?
Yes, he is. Yes. He is.
So on the day it was brought down to the realm of the dead, I covered the deep springs with mourning for it. I held back its streams, and its abundant waters were restrained. Because of it, I clothed Lebanon with gloom, and all the trees of the field withered away.
Okay.
I made the nations tremble at the sound of its fall when I brought it down to the realm of the dead to be with those who go down to the pit. Then all the trees of Eden, the choicest and best of Lebanon, the well-watered trees were consoled in the earth below. This is getting into some, talking about Hades or whatever bullshit.
Yeah, it's a little interesting.
Yeah.
For sure.
They, too, like the great cedar, had gone down to the realm of the dead, to those killed by the sword, along with the armed men who lived in its shade among the nations. Which of the trees of Eden can be compared with you in splendor and majesty? Yet you, too, will be brought down with the trees of Eden to the earth below.
So he's referencing here Egypt, right? Right at the end? Mm-hmm. And he's saying even Egypt is more beautiful and wonderful than the trees in Eden. And it's more powerful and more great, right?
I made it so awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't give it to you.
If we let him take credit, he's going to take credit for it. Yeah, sure.
I made this awesome thing that I didn't give to you.
But there's multiple lands that are more beautiful and wonderful and great than his lands that he cared about, apparently.
That's interesting.
It is really different than what I expected to hear.
Right.
I don't really expect the Bible or anybody in the religious realm or anything like that to admit that maybe God didn't make the most beautiful things for his people. Right. Generally, when I hear people talk about God, the people that worship God get all the wonderful
They get
best
all the
things,
glories and all the pretties and all the bestest.
Yeah.
The strongest, the fastest.
Right.
The ones that can fly across the sky and see 1,000 eyes.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, we got some dicks up in here.
Oh, no, not dicks.
Yes, ready? Yet you too will be brought down with the trees of Eden to the earth below. You will lie among the uncircumcised.
Oh, okay.
With those killed by the sword.
So, was hell originally for people who didn't get circumcised?
Probably.
Okay.
I guess. I don't know. I think
it's oh shit, your parents didn't circumcise you either, man? Sucks, doesn't it?
Right?
We're down here in hell now.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I just think these people were way too concerned with wieners.
Oh, they absolutely were.
And vag, I mean.
Right.
They were just
all the way around private parts. They thought way too much about that shit. Mm-hmm. With regard to their God and whatever that fucking thing represented.
I mean, clearly they thought about it regularly enough to include God in the talks about dicks and vaginas.
Right.
You know what I mean? It wasn't that they brought God to the dicks and vaginas. They brought the dicks and vaginas that already were in conversation to God. That's weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, last sentence here. Uncircumcised, we're all gonna die with uncircumcised dicks.
Yeah.
Ah! This is Pharaoh and all his hordes, declares the sovereign Lord. The end.
This is Pharaoh and all his hordes?
Yeah, so he's saying this is what's I'm talking about.
This is, okay.
The uncircumcised peeps
I know I was talking about Assyria the whole time, but that right there, that's Egypt.
Yeah.
I'm going to get them
specifically
uncircumcised fucks right there.
Yeah, and the big dicked uncircumcised fucks.
That's right. Yeah. I forgot they said that too.
Yeah.
Yep. That's good shit.
You know those Egyptians with the big dicks?
I mean,
according to the Bible.
I mean,
I'm not trying to stereotype.
We don't want to take this out of context or anything. I mean, that's just the Bible saying that shit.
I don't know what kind of dicks Egyptians have. I assume that they're just normal like everybody else's dicks.
To be perfectly honest with you, I'm not entirely certain that I've ever met an Egyptian.
I don't know that
I probably have passed one or been near one, but I don't know that I actually know that I've interacted with somebody who grew up in Egypt.
I worked at a place that was like kind of inner city. And so I saw a lot of people of different ethnicities. Mm-hmm. And I could not tell you what all the ethnicities were. There were a lot of brown and black people. And so maybe some of them were, I know one couple and their little boy was from Pakistan, and there was another guy who I know he was a Muslim, but I don't know what country he was from.
Got it.
And, it was just one of those things where I met people from all over and didn't really.
Do you think it would be inappropriate if, I just carried around a ruler in case I met an Egyptian just to make sure that the biblical claims are true?
I mean, this was thousands of years ago. Their dicks might have shrunk since then.
But, I mean, God probably cursed them or something, yeah. So
I don't know.
So, something happened probably.
Who could know?
I don't know.
We're not in the New Testament yet.
I'm just having fun with it,
Everything could change when we get to the new.
Uncircumcised, now in hell, Egyptians. That's what's happening.
I just want to apologize up front right now. I guess it's not up front because we already joked about it. Yeah. I just want to apologize to anybody who is of Egyptian ethnicity or background or culture.
We love you.
Yeah, I just want you to understand that I am not making fun of you.
No.
Or your culture or your history. I am making fun of the Bible, and it's really weird phrasing.
It really is.
And it's depiction of your ancestors.
Yeah, to be fair, it could have been any culture that he would have said that about, and we would have said the same fucking shit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with Egyptians or anything.
No, I just feel like it should be stated out loud that I apologize if our jesting and banter hurt you. That was not our intention. We are trying to make fun of the Bible.
No, we tend to just go off on whatever's on our goddamn minds. So
to speak. All right. Well, that's all I have for today.
All right. Well, that was Ezekiel Chapter 31.
Sure as fuck was.
We are so excited to be back on the job with our podcast here and happy to be back with you all.
Yes.
Which means that we'll be back. Actually, we're going to be back later today because we're trying to get back on track with the 5 per week. And we did a special episode yesterday with the Louisiana
10 Commandments in the school.
Yeah, if you didn't listen to the episode, go back and listen to it.
Highly recommend because it's basically like a Patreon episode, but it's available for everybody.
Yeah, and also for those of you who don't know, I have recently started a Substack for our podcast. So that's basically like a newsletter. And about once a week, maybe twice a week, depending on what's going on, I'm going to be sending a Substack out to everybody with just updates or something that I want to write about or whatever strikes my fancy pretty much. But it will include updates about the podcast and different things like that. So head over to our website at sacrilegiousdiscourse.com. If you go to, I think, the bottom of the page, there's a subscribe thing to our newsletter. You can click on that and subscribe, or any of the blog posts has it in the top right corner also. So just click over there somewhere and subscribe, and we'll see you guys there. I think, did I already say we're going to be back tomorrow or later today?
Yes.
With
Ezekiel, or Ezekiel, as I like to say, chapter 32.
All right. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Hey, wife, I guess that's the end?
But husband, that's just sad.
It doesn't have to be. We are on lots of social media platforms like Twitter. Our handle there is sacrilegious_D.
For D's nuts.
Oh my God. Stop doing that. Anyway, we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. There's a link to all of our social media sites at our website.
Ooh, we have a website?
Yeah, it's sacrilegiousdiscourse.com, where you can also find a link to our merch shop.
We have a merch shop?
Yep, we have podcast-themed clothing, mugs, notebooks, and more, as well as an atheist and science-themed products.
Wow, our fans should really go check that out right now.
Definitely. They can get in touch with us by sending an email to sacrilegiousdiscourse@gmail.com. But before they do that, we could really use some help.
Oh yeah? With what?
Well, it's not free running the podcast, and we need some financial support in order to get better equipment, which will free up time so we can concentrate on our podcast and our fans.
Okay, so what should they do?
Head over to patreon.com/sacrilegiousdiscourse and sign up as a contributor on our podcast. Supporters there receive additional bi-weekly episodes that we record just for our Patreon members for as little as $2 a month.
Also, we'd really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe on whatever platform you're using.
And Apple Podcast reviews help us out tremendously.
Like and subscribe. Leave an Apple review. Join us on Twitter. Support us on Patreon. That's a lot of instructions. Don't forget to say thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.